Who's responsible? When an AI system messes up, whether it's giving you bad info, leaking your data, or doing something way, way worse, who's actually on the hook for that? Okay, let's get into it. And look, this isn't some plot from a sci-fi movie. This is a real thing that happened, documented in a database of AI screw-ups. It's a pretty chilling reminder that when these systems go off the rails, the consequences can be deadly serious, especially for the people who are most vulnerable. So that's the big question, right? The one we're going to try and answer today. Is it the algorithm's fault? The programmer who wrote the code? The company that put it out there? Or maybe, is it us, the users? To figure it out, we're going to follow the evidence, just like a detective. To really get to the bottom of this, we've got to treat it like a proper investigation. We need to map out the crime scene, figure out the root causes, and really understand what the real-world fallout looks like. And lucky for us, a fascinating new study has already done a lot of the legwork. Researchers dug into 202 actual AI incidents, privacy breaches, ethical failures, you name it, to create this incredibly detailed map of why AI fails. So this isn't just guesswork, It's all backed by hard data. All right, first things first, where do these failures even come from? It's not like there's just one single moment where things go wrong. An AI system has this whole life cycle, and a problem can pop up at pretty much any point along the way. The research breaks the whole thing down into 4 main stages. First up is AI training. That's where the model is learning from tons and tons of data. Then AI deployment, when it gets pushed out into the wild. Third is AI application, which is how it's actually used to do something specific. And last, user communication. That's all about how stuff like privacy policies gets explained, or not explained, to us. And what's wild is that a failure at any one of these points can just snowball into a total disaster down the line. Okay, now we're getting to the really juicy part. We know where failures can happen, but what, or maybe who, is causing them? And let me tell you, the answer is probably not what you think. So check this out. This chart just completely flips the script on what we think we know. We all tend to blame AI failures on technical glitches, right? The code going haywire. But the data shows that's a tiny part of the story, only 12%. The real culprit, by a long shot, is organizational failures. That accounts for a massive 58% of all cases, with human causes right behind it at 34%. This tells us the problem isn't just about bad code. It's about bad decisions made by people and companies. Let's zoom in on that even more. The single biggest piece of that organizational pie, a whopping 40% of all incidents they looked at, came down to one specific failure. And what is it? It's this. Companies are just not being upfront or honest about how they're using our data. They're not getting our real informed consent. And you gotta understand, this isn't some accidental bug in the code. A lot of the time, it's basically part of the business plan. Okay, so what does this actually look like in the real world? Let's walk through a super common example from the study, something called the secondary use of data. And trust me, this happens all the time. Think about it. You post your photos on social media, right? You upload your documents to some cloud drive. You're thinking it's just for that one thing. But then, behind the scenes, without so much as a heads up, the company takes all that personal stuff and uses it to train their new AI. That's secondary use, and it's a massive driver of these AI incidents. And this right here just nails the point home. When your data gets misused like this, it's almost never because the AI malfunctioned. It's because an organization made a choice to do it, buried it in some 50-page terms of service nobody reads, or just didn't bother to ask for permission. So what this really tells us is that we've been pointing the finger at the wrong suspect. We've got this image in our heads of some rogue AI, like HAL 9000 making its own dangerous plans. But the evidence shows the real failures are happening in boardrooms, in legal departments, and at the hands of bad actors, long before the algorithm even gets a say. And look, these failures, they aren't just numbers on a chart or some abstract privacy thing. They have real and sometimes devastating consequences for actual people. Let's look at the harm they really cause. So get this. The single most common type of incident, making up a mind-blowing 39% of all the cases they looked at, involves non-consensual images and deepfakes. And if you look at the top causes, it's not a tech error. Number 1 is abuse of the tools by humans. Number 2 is poor business ethics from the organizations that make and sell these tools. See a pattern here? The problem is people and policies, not pixels and code. And the damage from this stuff is all over the map. You've got a fake image of an explosion causing a very real dip in the stock market. We're talking about kids being targeted with AI-generated nude pictures of their friends and teachers, a deepfake video of a president almost starting an international crisis, or an innocent woman being publicly accused of a crime she didn't commit because a facial recognition system got it wrong. This is the real cost.
Okay, so after looking at all the evidence, sifting through the facts, what's the final verdict? Who is actually responsible when AI fails?
Well, the verdict from this whole investigation is pretty clear, even if it's not the simple answer we might want. There's no single bad guy here. Instead, what we have is this whole web of failures. It's a chain of bad decisions, ethical blind spots, and malicious acts that stretches all the way from the companies setting the rules, to the developers building the tech, to the people who end up abusing it. Just blaming the algorithm? That's like blaming the bullet and ignoring the whole system that put the gun in someone's hand. But here's the most critical finding of all, the real headline from this research. The systems we've built to govern AI, the laws, the company rules, all of it, they're just not working. They aren't equipped to handle the kinds of risks we're seeing, and that leaves all of us pretty exposed. And that leaves us with one last really big question. We've spent so much time and energy focused on making AIs smarter and more powerful. But if the data's telling us that the real danger isn't rogue code, but the human choices made in boardrooms, then maybe we've been asking the wrong question. The real question is, how do we start building the rules and the guardrails that will let us create AI we can actually trust?